So most kids who have EF challenges or who are time blind also do not have much future awareness. Your kids live in two worlds. They live in the now, like right this moment, that's all they can focus on. And then there's the not now, right? And they're very divided. And the not now is like way, 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 God knows where, and they can't see it.
Welcome to the Soaring Child Podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm your host, Dana Kay. Hello, parents. This is Dana Kay here with another edition of the Soaring Child Podcast. Now, I speak to many families struggling with their child's ADHD symptoms, and one of the most common frustrations for school-age kids is surrounding homework. You know, the meltdowns that can occur, how long it takes them, the reluctancy of the child to even get started. And that is why I am so excited for today's guest, because she is going to dive into the depths of this topic. Leslie Josel, an award-winning ADHD academic and parenting coach, founder of Order Out of Chaos, a virtual company whose mission is to help parents guide their students to success in learning and in life. When her son was first diagnosed with ADHD, this is what was probably the catalyst, just like it was for my own son, to get her into this industry. She is the creator of the award-winning academic planner, a tool for time management, a planner that helps students develop time management skills, and the award-winning author of books, including the recently published How to Do It Now Because It's Not Going Away, which is an expert guide to getting stuff done. She writes weekly for ADDitude Magazine, which probably most of my listeners know about, speaks to audiences all over the world, and even has her own line of students organizing products. And for the last 6 years, which is amazing, Leslie has been named by global gurus as one of the top 20 time management experts in the world. So now it is time to welcome Leslie to the Soaring Child. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, honey. I'm so happy to be here. Who is that person? It's so funny because I'm like, it's so not, you know what I'm saying? So
I know.
I appreciate that.
No, I am really, really excited to have you today. We really haven't delved deep into homework and time management. And I just love that, you know, you've been coaching in this industry for so many years, as we were just saying before we came live.
19 to be exact, friends.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
But that you've also got these tools to help kids, which I'd love to also learn a little bit more as we sort of dive in. And I've heard you sort of talk about in the industry executive age.
Oh, yes.
And I'd love to sort of dive deep into that.
Sure.
What is that? And why is it so important as parents to really understand what your child's executive age is?
So when I start, so here's a little fun fact. We give webinars monthly for our community, and it does not matter what conversation we're about to have. It could be on procrastination, it could be on organizing, it could be on time, it could be raising problem solvers. I start every single one of those webinars explaining to parents what executive age is, because no one knows about it. And I remember when my son was first diagnosed with ADHD, no one ever told me about executive age. So the first thing to know, and I'm going to keep this super user friendly, is that when your child is diagnosed with ADHD, they automatically have executive dysfunction. It goes hand in hand, right? Because really ADHD is a dysfunction of executive functioning. It's right. It's a self-regulation disorder, let's say. However, the reverse is not true. And I think that is number one, the key to understand that executive functioning, you could be diagnosed with executive dysfunction, but not have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we have to remember is that our executive functions, and I'm not going to go through all of them, does not fully develop until we're in our mid-20s. And some researchers, as you know, say even later. So every student, no matter where they are on that scale or on that continuum, shows up with some deficit just by how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where executive age comes in. So here's what we see. We have parents who come to us and go, my kid is fill in the blank. My kid is 13. My kid is 16. My child is 8. They should be able to fill in that blank, get up on their own, get started on homework on their own, get out the door on their own. But what we're missing here is that all this is brain-based. And if your student at home, we call them students, we don't call them children, it's just how we speak. If your student has any executive functioning challenges, so we're looking at organizing, time management, focusing, effort, mood regulation, right? Working memory, impulsivity, any of those things, they will be approximately 30% less their chronological age for that challenge. So you might have a 13-year-old at home who's 13 and all their 13-ness. And I know all of you know what I mean by that.
Can I just say one thing right there? I have a 13-year-old in my house right now.
So they might be 13 academically, athletically, socially, verbally, but if they have time blindness, or they have weak working memory, or they have a hard time sustaining effort, they're going to be 9-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's an absolute, but I'm hoping people realize that. And you as a parent, how you're going to support that 9-year-old and how you're going to scaffold that 9-year-old, even what you're going to expect from that 9-year-old, very, very different than a 13-year-old. And that's where this comes in. That's where the frustration is. That's where the confusion is. That's where even the anxiety as a parent is. I don't understand. I don't get it. Why? That's why.
And I love that. And you're exactly right. And I will say that, even if we take ADHD out of the picture, every kid is going to have deficits in different areas. No kid is on point in every area of their life. And
I love that you said that.
Because I think it's so important, especially as parents with kids that have these challenges, because you're really trying to decipher, is this age appropriate or is it not? And, I've got families that come, that are in my program and they will say, oh, my 8-year-old, got home from school and, was so tired and got really angry. And I said, my 8-year-old does that as well, and he doesn't have ADHD. And so, I think we need to give ourselves a break as parents to sort of also know that not every kid is going to be where they need to be in every different area.
I say to my parents all the time, and I think this is set high school, maybe middle school, but high school is the only time in a child's life where they're expected to be good at everything. Think about it. As adults, we get away. It's a really, really stop and think moment. Right? So, and again, we don't spend a lot of time at Order Out of Chaos talking about ADHD. We spend all of our time talking about executive functions, because executive functions tell the story. They tell the story of your child. They're super granular, right? They explain, why does my child fidget? Or why can't my child sustain effort? Or why are they time challenged? Those are the day-to-day, right, tasks that your child either needs or has to complete. ADHD is too, in my world, I find it way too vague. So I love that we're honing in on EF skills.
Yes.
But even drilling it down, and again, EF or not, I love when I say that. I go, high school, think about it. I'm an adult. Tech is not my thing, and no one is forcing me to be. I'm very good at what I do. But turning on my computer, not so much, right?
Yes.
But nobody is looking at me and saying, you must be as good in that, Leslie. No, I outsource. I hire. Someone else does things for me. But our children are expected to be as good in science as they are in math, or in art as they are in gym. Why is that? Yeah. Why do we put that expectation on them?
I love that I love that. I love we're having this conversation.
Really food for thought. And
Yes.
it's a really interesting conversation because it does stop us in our tracks. It goes, you're right.
You are right. And I think it's also for kids, if we take executive functioning out of the topic here, it's also for younger kids as well. I've got parents that come to a coaching call, for example, and they will say that, oh my gosh, my son has just been completely dysregulated for the last 2 days. What am I going to do about it? And I said, okay, just wait a minute. 2 days. Do you have days or weeks where you feel off, you don't feel well, you just want to be by yourself? Oh, yeah, definitely.
Every day. Every day.
And so, but when we're in the thick of it, it's so hard to really, see out of those weeds. So I totally get that parents are sort of hyper focusing on these things, but I love how you put it that, us as adults, no one tells us that we need to do something better. If we're technically challenged or, I don't like running. I will not be a runner. I will not be forced to be running, but we force our kids to go running around the track at school.
Very, very true. Yes.
So complete digress there. I think that was a really important conversation to have. You did say something, and I want to dive deeper into that because I haven't heard that before. Time blindness.
Yes. What is it?
What is it? Talk about it.
So, I love talking about time. I'm a time management expert. Time is my jam. It's my thing. And I come from the position that most come to me and say time is invisible, right? And I feel the complete opposite. Time is very much visible. Time is very three-dimensional. Time has a beginning, middle, and end, if we look at it from that way. What time blindness is, and I want you all to think about this, if you are sitting on a boat in the middle of the ocean and you cannot see the horizon around you, you are completely unmoored. You don't know where you are, how long it might take you to get there. You're a little confused, you're a little rocky, you're a little unsettled. That's time blindness. Time blindness means you do not know where you sit in time. There is no anchoring you to a horizon. There is no anchoring you might know what time it is, but knowing what time it is doesn't mean you understand or feel it. Right? I can ask, so I do this right off the bat with kids when I coach. I give them a list of things and I'm like, can you tell me how long this takes you to do? Interesting enough, it's not school related. It's not like read or write. It's how long does it take you to shower? How long does it take you to walk your dog? Things that they do every single day. How long does it take you to get to school? And the joke is it's 20 minutes for everything. Right? So if I see that, I know that student is time blind. They are not sitting in time. They're not seeing time. They're not really seeing time. And I believe, this is my mantra, that for a child or student, even an adult, to truly be able to manage time, you have to be able to see it. And we as parents, and I am absolutely not calling anybody out. I am not disparaging parents. I am one. Trust me. I said something last night to my son. I really wish I could, not badly, but I didn't. I wasn't my coachy Leslie. I was my annoyed, tired, grumpy parent Leslie. So I'm not disparaging parents. You need to make time as visible as possible. You need to externalize it everywhere your child is so that they can internalize it. So how do we do that? We do it visually. We hang, and I always do this because I walk the walk. I'm going to answer 2 questions in one. That is my absolute number 1, number 2, and number 3, best thing, are analog clocks. Your child needs to see time move. For you to truly see where you sit in time, you need to see time move. Remember, it's three-dimensional, has a beginning, middle, and end. So your child needs to see what 20 minutes from now looks like. They need to see 10 minutes ago. And if you're using this, sorry, my kids, that the only time you see is the present.
Yeah. And for those that are listening on a podcast and not viewing on video,
sorry, I apologize.
It was holding up her mobile phone.
Digital phone.
Yes.
Because here's what happens with your child, particularly if they're time challenged. They are looking for what I call anchoring points. How much longer is this going to be? We want parameters. We want beginning, middles, and end. So they're looking for anything. Again, if you can't see me, I'm looking around my room as if to say, what is going to anchor me?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to anchor me is a planner, a clock, a calendar, a timer, something that is externalizing time so that I can learn to internalize it. So I can learn to figure out that took me 10 minutes, or I have 15 minutes to go. So therefore, I'm going to stay the course and complete what I'm doing. I mean, I'm giving you like 2 minutes of time where I normally would do this like in an hour. But there's that concept, and this is so important. I really want to get this one point out. For those of you who have kids that are time blind, or you have kids at home that are hard to get, not only get started, but stay the course, there's something about time being finite for them that's very motivating. If your child doesn't know how long something is going to be, and they don't see a beginning, middle, and end, how likely are they going to stay doing what they're doing? How do they know how to sustain their effort level? How do they know how to monitor their focusing? Right? All of those executive functions need to play together. So I need to know I have 15 minutes and I need to be able to see it. That power of done is what I call it. That power of done. 15 minutes is done for whatever it is going to let me pause. Okay, I'm pausing. I'm going to let me pause, picture, and pace. I'm going to picture the end. And now I'm going to pace myself to get there. But if I don't have that scaffolding, put a fork in me. I'm done. I'm done.
Leslie, that's absolute gold there. So I'm picturing listeners all going off onto Amazon right now.
Buying analog clock. Do you want to know something? So we did a webinar. We had thousands of people, and we put up our link to like a $5 clock on Amazon. Someone at Amazon actually called and said, we had thousands of people trying to buy this one product. Like, what happened? And I said, we did this webinar because my told them what I do. And I said, my number one choice, and again, go and buy your own clock. Like IKEA, if you have an IKEA near you, they sell them for $1.99. I'm not here to spend your money, nor do you have to buy it from me. Trust me, I'm not like that. But what I recommend is you put a clock and analog in every room your child spends time in. How I want you to think, how is my child seeing time? So if they spend their time in your den doing homework, there needs to be a clock. There needs to be a clock in the kitchen. There needs to be a clock in their bedroom. And I coach college students. They are required, if they coach with any of my coaches, that there is a clock in their dorms, an analog. They must, or we won't do it. And the number one place that clock needs to be is the bathroom. And if you have a teen at home, there needs to be 2. One in the shower. I'm going to keep it clean, but there needs
totally.
To be. That. They get lost, like they stand there and the water runs and they think about lunch and, it's just 20 minutes go by.
But I think you've raised a really good point that most people don't think about. When I grew up, we had analog clocks in the house. Right. We didn't have a mobile phone.
So you felt time.
Yes, and we didn't even need to learn it because it was just everywhere. Whereas now, the kids don't have the opportunity to really understand what 15 minutes looks like. We're expecting them to know how long 15 minutes is without them actually even seeing it.
Exactly. And one of the other things that I do with parents now, remember, we skew a little older, but if you have younger kids at home, and so parents say, well, I keep, I love all this, Leslie, and I have a big calendar in my kitchen. So, and I write on my calendar 5:30 soccer, right? And I'm like, good effort. Okay, good effort, but we can do better because 5:30 soccer is not time management. 5:30 soccer is not seeing time. I want you all to understand the term called future awareness. there's future awareness means two things. Future awareness is something that's happening, depends on how old your child is. So most kids who have EF challenges or who are time blind also do not have much future awareness. Your kids live in two worlds. They live in the now, like right this moment, that's all they can focus on. And then there's the not now, right? And they're very divided. And the not now is like way, 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 God knows where, and they can't see it. So that's considered not having future awareness, not knowing that maybe something that's happening an hour from now, tomorrow, a week from now, and for our older students, 6 months from now even, has to happen. You need to be focusing on it today. Right? Now, the good news about future awareness, everyone, before everybody goes, oh my God, she's like the worst Debbie Downer. And they're like, is that as you get older, your future awareness does grow. So it's why your 18-year-old who might be a senior in high school, it's December, can focus on like June, right? Because that just innately happens in our brain. Our future awareness grows. But where we start even is what we call mapping time. So I don't want you to write 5:30 on your calendar because 5:30 doesn't mean anything. What is more meaningful is 5 o'clock, get dressed, 5:15, leave the house, 5:30, soccer. That's future awareness.
Okay.
See what I mean? Do you see what I did there?
Yes.
Very different. Because what does 5:30 mean? Again, it's so big. Like, I don't know. Okay, 5:30 means I get in the car, but that doesn't account for I have to pack a soccer bag. I have to get dressed. I need to drive 15 minutes to get there. So mapping time allows us to create that future awareness piece. And even though it's maybe in 15-minute or half-hour increments, that's how we start. That's how we start building. Because I know you're going to ask me, how do we do that? That's how we do it.
Okay, so I am literally going to be, after this, going off this Zoom call and going straight to my kitchen, and I'm erasing everything from my calendar, and I'm going to redo my calendar. Right? Future awareness style.
But if you notice what I'm doing there too, it's another example of externalizing time. I am all, and I need to say this because I don't want people to think that I'm disingenuous here. I own an academic planner company, and it is paper, and it is a vehicle to see time. But if you've noticed, I'm not even mentioning that. I'm talking about what you have in your home, like calendars or timers or clocks. The other thing we do, I'm just going to keep giving you time management tools, that's really kind of fun, particularly for your younger kids. If they're like, I find that a lot of my younger kids who have either ADHD or executive functioning challenges, they like things game-like, right? They like, right? They gotta have some game. Gotta have game, as I call it. Gotta have game. So what we do, I'm just taking, is you might have an analog clock hanging in your bathroom. Okay, well, you might be saying, well, what good does that do me? What am I anchoring my child to? Always about the anchor points, always. So you figure out, okay, I want my child on school days, let's say, out of the bathroom at 7:30. What I want you to do, I'm sorry, this is written on, but pretend this is blank. Okay, this is just an 11 by 11 giant sticky. It doesn't have to be a sticky note. It could be whatever you want. It could be a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. I want you to draw an analog clock. And I want you to draw exactly what time, not in words, not 7:30, but I want this to mirror an analog clock. And I want you to put it right next to the analog in your child's bathroom. So they see that's what time I need to be out. That's what time it is. It needs to mirror each other. There needs to be an anchor point that gets your child to see time and move. And what we call it is billboarding. That's our term. It's just, it's my term. It's not scientific. But future awareness is, those are real terms. Mine, we just call it, like when we talk about it, OOC, we say, let's talk about billboarding today. How does that work and why does it work? It works because you're building a, right? An anchor point of that needs to match that.
And it seems logical, It seems very logical that we just don't even think about.
Right. But it's a little fun because it's a little
Yes.
game. Like, okay, you have to be out
And
when
you
by
gotta
the
match
time the
it.
clock starts that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going.
Yes.
Right. It's a little bit more game-like for my younger. But again, it's just another way to extra. I'm just trying to give your listeners and your viewers just other ways to externalize time.
Definitely. So let's tie this.
It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost a single thing. Now let's tie this into homework. So, we have a lot of listeners, a lot of families that, as I mentioned earlier, we speak to where homework is it's just one of those things that's super hard in the house. So can you share some of your best homework strategies?
Yes, I can.
For that reluctant child that's really struggling?
I have a lot of, I want to make sure I hit my points. I have a whole mess of things. So the first thing I want to say is about homework. It's a lot of us and again, not disparaging parents, but we're very tunneled about, we need to get homework done.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get it. And I play a little game with my community sometimes when we do our homework conversations, and I say, okay, everybody drop in the chat. What time does homework start at your house? Not your house, I'm sorry. When does homework start for your student? And people will go 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, after dinner, before, right? And I'm like, love you all, but nope, wrong. I'm never rude, but I am a little feisty. Okay, but never rude. Homework starts, and I got to start this conversation this way. Homework starts the second your child walks into their first class of the day. And we don't think like that. Okay. Think about what I just said.
I am, for those that are not watching me on video, I'm looking up into the sky, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together and wonder to myself, okay, so why does it start?
Think about it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say about 95% of students who do not do homework or are reluctant to do homework, not don't do it. It's not because something happened at 4 o'clock in that moment, right? If your child is sitting down at 4 o'clock and is really having a hard time doing homework, after my 19 years, I think I can go out on a limb and say about 90% of it did not start at that moment in that time. That reluctancy goes all the way back to the first minute they stepped into their first class of the day. And if you have homeschoolers listening, it might not be a brick and mortar, but whenever your child either walked into a brick and mortar school or flipped open their laptop or went to some there's community halls, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because every single thing has to line up in your child's day to make homework happen. Okay. Right? They have to have not only heard the teacher, they have to have processed it. They have to have remembered it. They have to have understood it. They have to know what they have to do. They have to they might have forgotten. I mean, there's something as easy as, but I always say this, if you have a child that has weak executive functioning and they were in math class at 8 a.m. and in that moment and in that time, they're like, I get it. I'm actually listening, right? I'm good. I'm learning it. But now let's flip it to 7 o'clock. 11 hours have now gone by. I will guarantee half of your your listeners and viewers are going, my kid will open up that homework at 7 o'clock at night and go, I don't know what this is. I never learned this. It's because the information didn't super glue it. Their working memory might be very challenged that they didn't really learn. They might have heard it, but they didn't remember it. So it's not about 4 o'clock. It's about what happened at 8 o'clock and at 9 o'clock. Did they have a fight with someone? Did they expend so much energy during the day just to hold it together? And now they walk in the door and you want them to sit down at 3 o'clock the minute, and there is just no, what way that's going to happen. Because, and I know I'm just talking, but I really need your parents to hear this, is if you have a child who has any kind of challenge, the amount of energy they have to put out compared to a kid that is maybe more neurotypical is 20 times more. Mm-hmm. So all of these things have to line up to make homework happen. So they're starting from a deficit. They're starting from being exhausted. They're starting from not remembering what they learned. They're starting from possibly not knowing where to find the information. There's maybe starting from not having the right materials brought home. So that's that. So we're going to put that in, like we call the parking lot, and we're going to leave it there.
And it makes sense. Again, everything that you're saying makes total sense.
So the first thing we have to do, if we are seeing a chronic reluctancy, is we got to go back to the top of that circle and find out what the heck went wrong. Where's the break in the chain? What is not happening for my kid? Because I will guarantee you, it is not what's happening at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. It's what's happening at 8 and 9. Okay. But let's say things did go well and your kid is just, how do I get a child to do it? I get them moving. That is my secret sauce. If you know me, I'm the girl who does math in the bath, right?
Math in the bath. I would say maths in the bath. So it doesn't quite sound as good.
No, I have that New York accent. It's math in the bath. My point is, we know that movement helps to lay down learning. Movement helps the brain not to drain. Movement helps us be less distracted. So some of the things that I do or have like come up with is, for my younger kids, we like to play hide the homework. So if you have a caregiver at home or a parent or a partner or whomever, and your kid is willing to do this, and this is funny, I've talked about this sometimes with students, and they're like, I'm 15, I want to play hide the homework. I'm like, rock on then. You hide the homework anywhere in your house, and the crazier the better, the kookier the better. So I put math in a bathtub, science on top of the toilet, English on the steps leading into the basement, social studies at the back seat of your car. It does not matter. And wherever your child finds it is where they do it. So trust me, during COVID, this was a thing because we needed kids to get out of their own way. We needed to change their environment. We'll talk about environment in a minute. So that's the big one. Like, get them moving. For our older students who don't, but yet I have a grad student I coach, and she wrote her entire thesis sitting in her bathtub with a pillow and her laptop, because it was small and cold and sensory seeking, and she loved it. No water. You know what I mean, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have another boy, a young man who's in college, who he's in an apartment, he has his own bathroom, and he sits in the stall of his shower. He goes, I love it. I put a pillow. I feel like I'm like, do we care? We don't care.
My mind is blown right now.
So we get kids moving, even older kids. We never have them sitting. None of us should be sitting. But
completely agree.
But what it does is it helps to keep the brain from draining. So we're going to start small, right? We're going to remove all barriers to entry, because what happens again is when your student, particularly if they have EF challenges or ADHD, and they're asked to do homework, it's too big for them. How long is this going to take? Where do I start? So I like to break it down. What would you like to start with first? What's the first thing you need to do to get started? That's it. What is the first thing you need to do? What would you like to do? I mean, there's a million questions, but we want to make some ordination to it. The other thing I have kids do is work time over task, never task over time. Task over time is too vague. How long is this? Remember that beginning, middle, and end for time? They need to see time. So instead of hey, go upstairs and do your math homework before dinner, which we all say.
We do.
We're going to say, why don't we work for 15 minutes or 8? And I never do anything on the even. It's always 17 minutes, 23 minutes, because that's fun and it's different. And when something's fun and different, it's memorable. So if you have younger kids, it's, why don't you work for 17 minutes? How about 34? Never odd or even, never 10 or 20. So we're going to do that. We're going to have them moving. For older kids, you might have them set up different stations around a table. They could use a lot of my younger, like my middle schoolers, like a timer. They like timers. Not everybody does, but they do because it's game-like. When the timer goes off, they move to another station.
I love that. I love
game-like.
that. Yes. I love the idea of, and again, it's such a simple thing to say, let's do 17 minutes of math homework right now.
Or 5 minutes. If you're
or whatever it is, depending on the age.
Right.
Yes.
It might be 5. It might be one spelling word, one vocab word. It's what you need to be doing is removing the barrier to entry.
Yes. And making them see time. Okay. So we've got this notepad here, listeners. We've got make time visible, and we have put the time for the homework. So 17 minutes or 5 minutes of homework time.
Right. Very, very, we need to make things tangible. We need to make things visible for them.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Next thing. What's the next thing, Leslie? You've given us so much goodness.
You're so cute.
More.
So I'm going to give you, so it's interesting what you said about homework, because yes, I find that for the most part, my students will activate on homework. So, but here's what I love. Another thing I would like parents to focus on is your environment that you have created for homework. So here's what I mean by that. And I learned this was not from coaching, parents are funny. It's not from coaching school. I actually learned this from watching my 2 children. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, 4 years apart. One has the ADHD, one does not. They are polar opposites in how they get things done. So Madeline, my daughter, would walk in the door. She wouldn't even take off her coat. She wouldn't go to the kitchen, wouldn't pass go. She would walk right into her room, shut the door, complete quiet. I said, it's what I call attention residue. She's still in school mode, so she's going to keep going, right? She's still got it. And for her, waiting till later, believe it or not, was anxiety producing. She wanted to get her work done. So she needed quiet. She needed to do one subject at a time. She wanted work right after school. Very different than my son. My son, you couldn't even talk to him after school. I'm thinking we all have one of those.
Yes.
Could not even. No. Don't even say hello. Right? I know you can't see what I just did, but no. I'm like, no. He needed music. He needed to move around. He wanted to lie on the floor, hang upside down to read, or go outside and jump on the trampoline while he did and I noticed the very different. And what I came up with is that every kid shows up to the table with their own homework preferences and personality.
Yes, definitely.
And we don't tap into that. I'm sorry. We don't always. So time of day, doing more than one subject at a time, long lead times, short lead times, quiet space, noisy space. I have a kid who goes, I need to work under the kitchen table with 3 of my brothers running around, because that stimulus helps me activate. Whereas another child's like, no, I'm going to the 3rd floor of my house and I don't want to hear from anybody. So we put together on our site, and I'm not here to sell you anything, but it's and you don't need my thing, but it's about 16 questions that we ask kids. And I'm telling you, we do it with young kids all the way through college. And even what is your what are your personality? What are your preferences? And it's different for homework, for studying, for possibly writing a paper, and even for reading. Because remember, they have different, I might want to read in my comfy chair in my bed, which I'm okay with. Reading, I'm okay with in bed. But I need to sit at a desk to do, that's fine.
Again, such a simple thing, but we never actually do it. Never think to do it. Never think to ask them. So what environment would you like to study in? I mean, but again, I'm sure there's a lot more questions, as you said. There's
with parameters and all that.
Yes.
Right. So I'm really, really big on tapping into, and because so much of our kids, the way things are assigned to them, and I'm not talking about kids that have IEPs and 504s, because that's a whole other conversation for another day. Most do not get the wiggle room to do things the way that works for them. They don't. They get assigned, and it's told, finish your bio lab and it's due tomorrow. So we want to give them as much choice and control as we can, so that they feel that they have agency. So tapping into this environment, what do you need? What food do you like? I have a kid that cannot get homework done unless he has popcorn. The other thing I do with kids, and I just want to give you one more very actionable tip. when it comes to homework, particularly for the student that does not want to sit down right away, we all have that, is what I like to do is separate the setup from the task. So what we'll say is, you're not going to do any work, but maybe when you come home, you're going to spend 5 minutes, or maybe not the minute you walk in the door. You're going to set it up. You're going to put out your planner if you have one. You're going to open your laptop. You're going to pop your popcorn if that's what you need, because I have kids. You're going to put out the book, the thing you're going to do first, and you're going to leave it. It's interesting. And they're like, but wait, but should I sit down and do it? I'm like, nope, no. You're not, don't walk away. Go. Bye-bye. Go do whatever you're allowed to do. That's not my job. That's your mom's job, or parents. But my point is, when you remember but by setting it up, you've already now kind of like built that bridge. Get there. We all know this. The start is what is the hardest.
It sure is.
So if we can separate the task from the setup, we've actually built the bridge to get started. Because now when it's time, all of that, do I have a pencil? What do I do first? I need to first get a drink. It's all there for you. And I have to tell you, I say that in our webinars, and my adults come back to me and go, I do that now. As an adult. I set myself up so that I don't procrastinate as much. It's kind of my environment is going, Leslie, this is where you need to be. Right? I'm sorry, but
no, Leslie, I'm blown away. Seriously, we have already built the bridge to get started. And again, such a simple thing, but I am sure that is worth its weight. And I was going to say gold, but I've already said that multiple times. I think it's more like, is it platinum or diamonds or something? I think that's the perfect note to end on. You have showered us with gifts today, and I know that our listeners are going to be so grateful for all that knowledge and experience that you have shared with us. Please tell listeners where they can find and follow you online.
Sure. So here's what we tell everyone. The name of the company is Order Out of Chaos. And the best thing to do is go to our website, which is orderoochaos.com. And from there, you can find our products, our programs, our workshops, our webinars, our coaching, our social, wherever you want to go. Some people like social more than an email, whatever it is you want. Go there first. And from there, you can go wherever you need to go. And all of my ADDitude Magazine columns are there, videos, everything is housed right there and it's all for the taking. There's no firewall. So enjoy it all.
Fantastic. Well, thank you once again, Leslie. This has been an absolute
fabulous.
It was. No, you are more than welcome. Listeners, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Soaring Child. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at ADHDthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.